Continues negotiations with organized labor and stakeholders over subsidy removal as marketers raise fuel pump price. I will be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Paul Dada. Journalist Hangout starts now. Right, let's begin with the disciplinary matters in the Nigerian police, where the Lagos State Police Command has dismissed an officer attached to the Shogunle Division, Sergeant Ekpo Shimuyere, for extorting a young man of 98,000 naira. The State Police Public Relations Officer, Benjamin Hundeyin, told journalists that the dismissed sergeant collected the phone of his victim and used a point-of-sale operator to transfer 98,000 naira out of 100,000 naira in the young man's bank account. Now let's share the story of his dismissal by TVC News' Ivy Kanu with you.
It was a short ceremony. The provost walked in with the police sergeant into the command's conference room. This is probably the last time Sergeant Ekpo Shimuyere will walk the streets clad in Nigeria police uniform. But he wasn't going to go down without a fight.
This trial was done, sir, while I was being detained. It was an allegation which I said I never knew how the judgment comes through.
That didn't stop the police.
The Commissioner of Police, Lagos State Police Command, has reviewed the ordinary room procedure of force number 461654, Sergeant Ekpo Shimuyere, and approved the punishment of dismissal from service.
That didn't stop the police. With those words, the process of decrypting him began. The CP, represented by the PRO, says his actions were gross.
The Commissioner of Police, Lagos State Command, CP Dowu, has made a clear statement that any form of corruption by officers and men under his command would not be tolerated. He actually stopped the young man and went through the young man's phone, which is totally against the ethics of the job. He saw a balance of 100,000 naira on the boy's phone and procured a POS operator to transfer out of the boy's account 98,000 naira, leaving just 2,000 naira for the boy. And he was smart about it. The transfer was done to the POS operator's account, not to the officer's account. So because he denied, there was no confessional statement from him, we needed to carry out a very diligent investigation. And we couldn't have allowed him go so that he wouldn't tamper with evidence. So we had to keep him till we wrote to the bank and got statement of account first from the POS operator, and we now had to trace it to where the POS operator transferred to before it eventually came to him.
They called on Nigerians who must have gone through such to approach the command.
I have to speak out.
Sergeant Ekpo Shimuyere, who enlisted into the Nigerian police force on 1st November 2008 until his dismissal, was serving at the Shogunle Division in Lagos. Ivy Kano, TVC News, Lagos.
Right now, BKO, we've just seen this report by our correspondent Ivy Kano, but how does this dismissal of Sergeant Ekpo now reflect on the State Police Command's effort to addressing corruption within its ranks?
First, let me pay some compliments to the spokesperson of the Lagos State Police Command for the excellent way he pronounced the name of the Commissioner of Police. You know, not many people, even from his Kaba homestead, can pronounce that name the way
he did.
The way he did, you know, just excellent pronunciation of the name. No yes about it, just the way the name should be pronounced, you know, just like Dino Melaye. Even he will be calling himself Dino Melaye. The right pronunciation for his name is Dino Melaye. I don't own the word.
Wow.
That's what it means. in our language.
Right.
You know, what people say, Senator Dino Melaye. There's no such thing as Melaye. It's Melaye. Now, look at the way that young man pronounced the CP's surname. He has a drink on me. for
Perhaps
that,
a champagne.
Yes, for that excellent pronunciation, because I'm a culture icon. So
Nice.
I'm happy when people
take their time to pronounce names correctly.
Yes, so people murder people's names. Anchors on TV murder people's names. It doesn't make me happy. Now, going to your question, I think it reflects positively on the police. I've always said that the police is one professional body constantly thinking about cleansing its ranks of undesirable elements. Other professions, in fact, our profession now, journalism, has been taken over by birds of passage.
All commerce affair.
OAPs, motivational speakers, everybody, privileged to wear a cheap suit and sit in a studio, sees himself as a journalist, and they call them journalists. They've never written a news story in their lives. TV people who have never done a documentary in their lives. Yes, journalists. Journalists, what is your contribution to the body of journalistic knowledge? Nil. So, what we are saying is, everybody, every professional body should be ready to cleanse its ranks of undesirable elements. The police are constantly doing it. The pity is that there are so many bad legs in the police. So as much as they are doing it, it will seem like
they haven't done enough.
That they are not doing enough.
Right.
But the society owes the police a responsibility, the government. They always say that every society has the kind of law enforcement, gets the kind of law enforcement that it deserves. We do not deserve this kind of law enforcement. And a lot of it, we have to blame ourselves for. When somebody rises to the rank of AIG in the police and he retires and he gets paid 70K per month as pension, what can 70K do? This is not fiction.
Right.
It's not fiction. People are watching me. They know I'm saying the truth. Policemen those who used to be in the police who have retired, they know that this is the truth. What system permits those who have served their country to earn just 70K after rising to the top of their profession? 70K as pension. Why won't young people like this begin to think that they must amass wealth and save for the rainy day? Policeman that deliberately compromises investigation because he's been promised words of naira notes is because he knows that after he leaves service,
there isn't any pay package.
That's nothing. No, it's not encouraging. So the welfare of the police we must take seriously. These people still buy uniform for themselves, buy their boots. So when you treat them in this manner, you have DPOs, you have area commanders, you don't give them sufficient money to run their stations, to run their police formations. Why won't they send the boys out to go and look for money? They send them out. Policemen have literally become like fine barras. Some of them are very polite. When they see you, they give you their best smile. They know that when they give you their best smile, you part with something. Yeah. Those ones are those are the kind of policemen that I like. When you flash that toothpaste smile at me, I give you my own close-up smile in return. And then we get talking. When we are talking, I say, my man, take this one, hold body. They say, that's why we like you. I drive away. I'm not going to argue with you because I don't know the level of anger that is boiling up in you.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to allow you to pump hot lead into my body. You know? Because who knows? Before I get a chance to call the governor, as some people who say they want to do, they may have taken my life. I'm not going to take that risk. So let us take good care of the police. That will stop
the incidence of corruption.
Yes. When you pay the police slave
wages.
Right. you are incentivizing corruption in the police. This is the truth. This is the truth. So this guy, I do not encourage what he has done. People should not misunderstand me. I do not encourage what he has done.
Context, right? Because
he must be one of the most wicked policemen in the extortion business. Because for you to go to the point of finding 100,000 as someone's balance, and you alone, that you did not work for it, you took 98,000. Got the POS person to help you. You didn't know that they are going to, they will not, they arrested him so he could not talk to the person. So he could not, the identity could not be hidden. In the end, they saw the person who transferred the money to him. So kudos to this current IG, because in my view, it's done so much to rid the police of some good for nothing officers who are disgracing others. But we have to do something about the welfare of the police so that we can discourage them from. They have families, they have kids in school and all that, and you pay them wages that do not take them anywhere. They are bosses, they are seniors. You don't give them money to run their police formations. You are encouraging corruption, honestly.
Well said. Oh, you just noted, Babajide just mentioned welfare of police as a yardstick, not really a yardstick, as a part of the problem that is being facing the police command today, and one of the factors exacerbating the challenges of corruption within the system. But would you say what we just saw is an isolated incident, or it has shed more light on the broader issues within the police force? And how do you think the government can address this growing concern?
Well, the issue of welfare, of course, it's not something that we can overflow, keep talking about it, but it's not a justification for this kind of thing. Because if you're talking about welfare, there are so many other professionals, you know, even working with different agencies of government that can also complain about poor welfare. The only difference is that these ones have the power of force now. So that power of force is now being used, being deployed. I think we need to just look at there has to be reorientation of the personnel beyond just arresting. Of course, if you arrested so many people, disgrace them, a number of policemen who misbehave, who abuse their uniform, there has to be orientation. Police has to be the friend of the people. You know, they say police is your friend, but another Nigeria thinks that's just on paper. It's not the reality. So many policemen are being cursed daily because of this. In fact, if you want to move if you have a car, for example, and you want to move your car, let's say you want to drive from Abuja to Lagos, maybe a private car, to move. Some people will have to go and get a soldier to drive that car, to accompany that car, so that they can be spared from the wala of the police they will meet on the highway. So there has to be a lot of you have to irritate the minds of the personnel in the rank and file in the police. So there has to be that, but it's actually a very big issue. We want to have a better police. Police is already trying, but more has to be done.
Indeed, more has to be done indeed. Let's quickly move on to our next issue of discussion, where the enormous challenges confronting Nigeria requires national and global efforts to surmount. And the President, Bola Tinubu, has begun on that note for economic redemption. President Tinubu met with the special envoy of Chinese President Pen Xinhua at the State House, Abuja. The envoy told the president that his counterpart, the Chinese counterpart, Xi Jinping, has pledged increased economic cooperation with Nigeria. In responding, President Tinubu said Nigeria is open for business and constructive partnerships with any country ready for such collaborations. So, Babajide, let's understand how this meeting with the Chinese delegation align, because we all also understand that there were some recent pledges from the United States, United Kingdom, and Saudi Arabia for the Tinubu administration. How significant is this, and what's the connection between these events?
You know, China has since become Nigeria's favored trade partner. Every country has a favored trade partner, and countries of the world want to be in the good books of countries that have significant value. On the African continent, Nigeria has significant value. We are the biggest economy on the continent. There is market here. Most importantly, there is market here. If the Chinese were to set up an assembly plant for maybe one of their highest selling automobiles in Ghana, for example, they will never find the kind of market that is here. They may come to the conclusion that, oh, it's safer to do business in Ghana. But market is the king, and the market is here in Nigeria. So for that reason, everyone is courting Nigeria. They want to do business with Nigeria, and that is why in Nigeria that is peaceful, in Nigeria that is forward-looking, is a Nigeria that will benefit not just us, the citizens, but our neighbors as well as our trade partners. We need foreign direct investment at this time because that will help our country to grow economically. You can imagine before MTN came to Nigeria, and look at the size of MTN now. MTN constitutes more than half of the entire telco business in our country. And that is about 3% of our GDP. You know? That's telco, about 3%. And MTN constitutes more than half of that. So that's a big, big company. You can imagine, and they pay so much by way of tax, which helps Nigeria, helps to reflate the economy. It helps us to find the funds that we need for infrastructure and other things. So, and of course, a lot of our people have gained employment. You know, training, on-the-job training and all sorts. So the importance of trade with
China and other
America, India, it can be, yes, it can be overemphasized. Right. It can be overemphasized, and President Tinubu knows that China is reaching out, especially to new friends on the African continent. They are trying to outsmart America by way of making friends with the continent of Africa. You know, China built the OAU headquarters in Addis Ababa, you know, part of trying to make more and more African countries like them and do business with them. So I'm not surprised that they came quickly. It's significant. So that when you are thinking of anything, China comes to your mind. You have construction companies doing business here. The money gets repatriated to their country. It's a win-win situation. We benefit from their own technological know-how, but they will also make money here. So China does not joke with Nigeria, or no longer jokes with Nigeria. So, and our president has said, any country that is ready to do business with Nigeria, he is game, and he will do his best to improve the ease of business so that they will not have difficulty coming here to do business. I know that in the coming days, more and more of these countries will come, their envoys will come and see the president. You know, they will be happy to get the relationship between their country and Nigeria as charming as possible.
Right. So, Paul, what are your thoughts on this, and what challenges or considerations should be taken into the account? You know, when we're talking about expanding our collaboration with China, talking about issues of debt, sustainability, talking about transparency, potential impact on local industries. What are your thoughts on this?
Okay. First of all, let me say it's a step in the right direction. China has huge investments already in Nigeria, although there was a slight drop in the trade volume between 2021 and 2022. I think it was $300 million, the value of the trading activities between China I mean, the value of the trade volume between Nigeria and China was put at $300 million in 2021. It dropped to 290 in 2022. Well, it's a good thing, but I want Nigeria to encourage China to set up producing or manufacturing companies in Nigeria. Not that they will just come, pick our raw materials, manufacture, and then we start importing. Number one, it creates more job opportunities for our people. Sharing of technology, it's also there. It also impacts positively on Forex. You understand? If those things are made here, and then we also get them here, we don't have to import them. So all of that, I also want us to pay attention. We're not talking about only China now. We're talking about other. Let us pay attention. Let us pay the best attention to power generation, power distribution, power generation. Let us pay. Let's look at alternatives, alternative ways of generating power. It's been a problem. The cost of production in Nigeria has been the bane of foreign direct investments. We've seen companies, pack up and leave, So that is very, very important. We must deal with power. We must deal with the cost of production. Of course, there's a testimony that Nigeria has improved in the area of the ease of doing business. We can still do better there. But more importantly, we should be a producing country. And when these concerns come from abroad, from a place like China, let us encourage them also to set up manufacturing plants. We must do less of exportation of our raw materials, only for us to import them when they import the finished products with which they were made. So it's very important.
Yeah, but BKO, with what that being said, are you seeing any negatives whatsoever, even though he's talking about having to have industries from part of China, in our country? What about our local industries? Wouldn't it take the shine away from them and perhaps reduce their impact to the GDP or contribution rather?
Well, every country tries its best to protect small businesses. Foreigners are not supposed to be allowed to get involved in little retail businesses and all that, because that should be meant for the citizens.
Yeah.
But there are areas where they have comparative advantage over us in terms of the technology and a lack of capacity at our end. If they bring such businesses here, fine. But we have to also find a way. I don't think they should be allowed to get involved in some of the businesses that they're already involved in now. On plastics, they will outperform our own people, and it will be difficult for them
to match up.
Yes, then cheap Chinese textiles are coming into our country. We have to. Protectionism is not such a bad idea. Even in the U.S., they still try to protect local industries against competition from foreign companies. So it is only where we do not have capacity, where we do not have the technological edge, that their businesses should be encouraged. So business should be encouraged to come into our country. When MTN came in, there was no rival from the Nigerian end. Later on, Globalcom came. Then we've seen Econet and the rest of the years with Nigerian management, but the parent companies are outside of here. I think that, just as Paul said, if they will bring the assembly plant here, they can say, okay, Africa Regional Assembly Plant for automobile.
Yeah.
We are bringing it here. We know that a lot of, I mean, it
a lot
will
of
really help
benefit
our
to the
people.
Nigerians, yeah.
Yes, our people who get employment,
Right, yeah.
and both countries will earn money because the market is here. There's no doubt about it. But we don't want unfair competition. We have to protect our people. I've heard that the Chinese are even, they've gone into producing adire now. The governor was lamenting the other day because even the adire that they are producing is of inferior quantity to our own. They are more interested in mass production.
It's against quality.
It's against quality. So they're sending cheap adires to our country. And the governor of Ogun State was lamenting that what's going on. If care is not taken, that line of business that had been there for centuries, they are going to come and totally mess it up. So they should not. Then I saw a video of a Chinese machine processing, gari processing machine. Say, what is going on? What's going on?
We need to take back our own.
Yeah. They now, even soups, they produce soups.
Locally made soups.
Yes. And then send back here for us, for our department stores to sell. They are doing that. Egusi, all of this. I don't know. I don't understand them. So, as much as we would like to do business with them, we must do our best to protect. Yeah. And then a lot of substandard. If you go to their markets, at their market there, you see a lot of substandard stuff that are brought into our country. In other countries, they will not tolerate such cheap, substandard stuff being shipped into our country. We can't be so wide open like that for them to just be dumping all kinds of things here.
Let's quickly go on a very quick break. You're still on to Journalist Hangout. We'll have more discussions coming your way in just a moment. Stay with us.
New beginnings are always colorful. When we celebrate the start of life's journey, we marry in colors. With our proudly Nigerian Dulux paints, now available in any color. Express your world however you want it. Visit a Dulux color center to get any color instantly.
Dulux, let's color.
You're heading home from work. In the busy traffic, your car breaks down. Car horns blast. Your car is pushed aside. You call for help. Phone battery blinks and dies. You take a cab. Few miles, tire bursts. What a day. Frustrated, sweating, and tired. Nearing home, darkness envelops the street. Wow! Just one house is bubbling with life. Brilliant lights, loud music, smiling wife, all welcome you.
We alone have light?
Yes, it's JRB Solar Energy Systems, my anniversary present to us.
No matter how dark life is, the sun is gonna shine on everything you do. JRB solar inverters, batteries, solar panels, solar street lights and more. Telephone 0906 752 1111. Email sales@jrbsolar.com. JRB, the sun is gonna shine on everything you do.
Now, the uproar generated by the removal of fuel subsidy continues to pose a big problem for the new government. The meeting between the federal government and organized labor failed to reach a consensus on the contentious issue. And the meeting aimed at addressing concerns of workers regarding the impact of subsidy removal ended in a deadlock on Wednesday night at the presidential villa, Abuja. Meanwhile, the marketers have hiked the pump prices of petrol from 194 naira per litre to 600 naira per litre and more in some states. Now let's give you some updates about the fuel subsidy situation.
Of the organized labor coming out of a meeting with the federal government over the contentious issue of the withdrawal of petrol subsidy. But it appears for now, the closed-door meeting will not translate into anything meaningful for Nigerians who have been hit with the impact of the withdrawal of fuel subsidy payments.
Mr. President called for a meeting of government and the labor.
The federal government is optimistic that the impasse will be amicably resolved. but it did not budge in its earlier decision to stop payment of petrol subsidy, as they continue holding talks towards a favorable outcome.
Necessarily, labor unions will be agitated if there's any slight change in any price of any commodity, whether it's fuel, whether it's gari or bread. Labor will be agitated. That is what we are talking about. But in terms of pricing, you cannot control price when there is a deregulation. So there is a deregulation. The price you have today could go up tomorrow, could go down tomorrow. There will be interventions. We're not calling it palliative this around, but there will be interventions, at least so that the impact on the poorest of the poor in the society will be very minimal.
The petrol crisis is a litmus test for President Bola Tinubu. His administration will have to delicately handle a crisis that has festered since the previous administration. Organized labor is also not mincing words. They want the federal government to revert to status quo, consult widely with critical stakeholders, and put in place measures that will minimize the impact of the fuel subsidy removal.
We go back to status quo, negotiate, think of alternatives and all the effects and how to manage the effects this action is going to have on the people. If it is an action that must take off, the subsidy provision has been made up to the end of June. And before then, conscious people, labor, management, government should be able to think of what will happen at the end of June.
Yes, if you listen to the president during the inauguration at Eagle Square, he said that one of the hallmarks of this administration is going to be dialogue, it's going to be consultation, and that that this will be the hallmark, that they are not going to lord it over us, trying to paraphrase what he said, and not to be a dictator. So if you read it, it is clearly written there. And what has happened in terms of, as at today, has not shown what was written in his address.
As the days in the life of the Bola Tinubu presidency begins to count, Nigerians will hope for some quick fixes that will reduce the impact of the withdrawal of petrol subsidy payments on the standard of living in the country. Femi Akonde, TVC News, Abuja.
Right, before we get into the nitty-gritty of the conversation, BKO, let's briefly understand what is fuel subsidy and why is it a major topic in Nigeria today?
Yes, fuel subsidy came about as a result of a spike in oil prices during the Arab-Israeli war of the 70s. Government was concerned that the citizens would find things difficult. So government decided to come up with fuel subsidy so that the effect of those rising prices would not be terribly felt by the people. But over the years, we've been reducing
the subsidy.
Yes, we've been reducing it. We've not. This is the first time that we are saying, "Oh,
take it off totally."
Yes, totally. We've been reducing every time the price goes up. That is taking some of the subsidy away. But this is the first time we are saying enough. We are tired. This subsidy will bring Nigeria down if we do not do something about it. Remember the former CBN governor said, even the World Bank warned us that if we continue, Nigeria will go bankrupt. So President Bola Tinubu had made up his mind a long time ago. I'm happy to say that other presidential candidates also said that they were going to remove subsidy. You know, everyone is tired of it. Peter Obi called it organized crime. You know, where people inflate our consumption level and on their own determine what the subsidy bill should be. That's making so much money at the expense of the rest of us. So this is the, yes, you could say, why didn't we deal with those who are making money off subsidy? Why didn't we work hard to ensure that whatever we are paying for subsidy is what we ought to pay? But I still think that at the end of the day, this is a decision that we have to take at some point. The country is not as buoyant as some people want us to believe. A country that spends more than 96% on debt servicing. You know, it's a country that is on tenterhooks.
Paul, now the Nigeria Labour Congress is demanding a reversal of this subsidy removal. How do you think the government should address this?
I do not think what they should be demanding is a reversal. I was telling people that I do not see how the federal government can continue with subsidy. You know, it will be illegal because it's not covered in the budget beyond June. So what would the president have done? Well, maybe the way the announcement came was very shocking. I agree that, you know, maybe there should have been some consultations before, or maybe the statement that the president made should have been couched in a manner that would not send panic. Okay, I agree with all of that. But it is done already. I don't think reversal is what they should be talking about. What they should be talking about is profiling solutions, coming up with ideas on how government can help or can intervene. You know, I would have also loved, I would have loved the president, or I wish that very soon the federal government will come up very soon come up with the intervention decisions they've taken, because people want to know. You know, the Iyatunde who sells cook rice by the street does not understand the economics of fuel subsidy. Right. All she just realizes that I used to pay 100 naira to get to this place. Now I'm paying 200 naira. And then she says, what is happening? So there should be information, there should be orientation, there should be communication. People should be told. I think the Buhari government did not do enough of orientation.
But is that what it should be? Because the general perception, the general concern is that there will be rise in transport services, there will be rise in goods and services and all of that because of this removal of fuel subsidy. So is it a matter of orientation, or is it about providing palliatives, the cushioning effect? Everything.
People should have been prepared that this could happen. Then they said they won't call it palliatives, they call it intervention. Whatever, that is just semantics. Whatever, if you like, call it palliatives, call it whatever you want to call it. But people want to see that.
Just do something.
Do something. For example, if there are, some people have suggested mass transit buses. You understand what I'm trying to say? If you have them at reduced rates, if you're not subsidizing fuel, you can subsidize transportation. Right. You understand? You would have to spend as much as you would on. So I believe people want to see those things. And I want Labour to be a little bit circumspect in the way they go about this thing. I am happy there was there was a rumor that they will go on strike. They will embark on strike on Friday. But there was a statement by Labour that said, no. We want to have meetings with the several organs. So people have to be very careful. We have to manage information very well. It is not even strike we need now. It is discussions. Let's discuss. Let's come up with solutions. Let's come up with cushioning programs or policies that can cushion the effect of this. I believe that with time, we will get over it. But I must salute, and I'm saying this very sincerely, I must salute the courage of the president, because all the previous administrations, they were not ready for how the thing could blow over. So everybody just push the last administration, just push it to the next administration. Now you go suffer this thing. Now you go face the heat. But everybody, we have all known, we knew this, that subsidy had to go at some point. If it does not go now, it has to go later. So when?
Right. So I understand we have an economist, Nnameka Obiareri, and he joins us live to give his perspective on this issue. So good to have you on the program, Nnameka. So, but we understand some economists now have argued about the removal of fuel subsidies, saying that it will benefit Nigerian economy in the long run. But let's get your perspective about this ongoing issue.
Thanks for having me. The removal of subsidy by the president of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, was a masterstroke. In fact, that is a masterstroke in political goodwill. We have kicked the can down the road since 2012. And since from 2010 to 2023, we've lost over 16 trillion naira to this Ponzi scheme called subsidy regime. If you look at history, you will discover that this singular corruption scheme has been at the root of most of our FX wars, coupled with the divergent exchange rate regimes that we have had since 2015. In fact, let me tell you this. What Bola Tinubu did with those three pronouncements will vibrate in our economy positively if he stands his ground and don't allow himself to be bullied out of that position. The removal of FX subsidy, that will save us over 7 trillion naira that we burn every year on fuels. Margin of the FX rate, and with the MPR at 80%, if he can get the CBN to do this, by August we'll look back at the volume of investment that will come into this country. I will marvel. In fact, what he actually did was a reverse of what Buhari did in 2015. And I think he's learning from history. People do not know why we went into the first recession. We went into the first recession in 2016 because of the inactions and actions of Muhammadu Buhari and Godwin Emefiele and CBN government. I will explain it. Buhari came into power with massive goodwill. It took him 4 months to compose his executive council. I'm sure Bola Tinubu will not take time to compose his FEC. Then the most grievous harm that was done to the economy was the issue of the CBN trying to tamper with the safety and transparent valves at the foreign exchange market. If you remember, as at that time, the JP Morgan bond index, the Barclays Bank bond index had the Nigerian instruments listed on their windows. Of course, it provides global investors a window to be able to assess their playing in the Nigerian market. When that window was closed, it brought about opacity with divergent foreign exchange market rates and inability of the president to compose his team. It sent panic wave across the global investing public, and they ran away. By December, we have lost over $78 billion. What Ashwadi did is the opposite. By making this pronouncement, and with MPR at 18.5%, of course, the local market is already feeling the pump. If you look at the stock exchange, it has gained over the last 3 days. And I will tell you, with this move, this strategic move, the global world is saying that there's a transparency coming into our market. It's already said that monetary policy has to be cleaned out. It has to clean it out. Not just clean it out, a lot of people will have to go at those key institutions, at the NMPC, at the Petroleum Ministry, at the CBN, and even at the security agencies, because you also need to enhance security to give the investors the confidence boost to come into Nigeria. I tell you, there is no best time to remove this cankerworm. It's going to be very difficult in the short run. People are already feeling the pinch. You should also immediately put in place this team. It's very important so that they can hit the ground running. Put in place other measures, other policies, other incentives, other palliatives to cushion the effect of this removal. Of course, by removing this subsidy, we'll be saving into our national pot over 10 trillion naira that will have gone to some sleazy human beings within that system. What will he do? He should have to convoke a meeting with the Nigerian Governors Forum and all the stakeholders, even non-state actors. They must agree that 50% of this money must go into a pool that can be used to provide incentives and investment in the critical. Because Nigerians are also very wary. We don't want to save these monies, and the governors and the people in the public sector will loot these savings. So just like a version of the PTF, but this one will be private sector driven. This fund should be put in the pool, managed by the Nigerian Sovereign Wealth Investment Authority. There are proposals of what these things can be done and how it can be done. First of all, the 3 major areas that will be affected by this will be issue of transportation cost. Already you have seen it happening. The issue of those who are using generator to we fuel their generators. Of course, and all those. So what you should do, very simple. We must put in place measures that will ensure that we have at least 20 buses in every local government area, 4 articulated trucks, and 4 long buses that will be able to take care of transportation need of Nigerians. And they can even use it to drive the tax net. How will they do this? By ensuring that only those that will benefit from those incentivized buses that will operate cheaply under a private-public partnership will have their tax cuts. By doing this, you will cushion those effects. And those that will be supplying those buses must have assembly plants in Nigeria. We're not going to be having people importing them out of jobs to Nigeria. It's a way of also creating jobs. The assembly plants must be in Nigeria, and they must have branches in every of the local government areas in Nigeria. Number two, they must also put measures in place to ensure that the agro sector cluster that he said he wanted to do will also be put in place. Those clusters must be done across 809 electoral wards in Nigeria in such a way that we'll have mechanized clusters at each of these centers that will have bulldozers, graders, tractors. You know, by doing this alone under a private-public partnership initiative, this one will take about $1.5 billion from those kind of savings. It will enable us to cultivate at the farm gate in every ward brand new 3,500 acres of farm gates in each of these wards over the next 1 year. This will also create massive jobs. We must also apply some of these palliatives to make sure that we provide 3-kilometer rural roads using the Israeli agri-bind technology. It will not take anything more than 100 million for each kilometer. We'll be doing brand new 18,000 kilometer roads in the rural areas. They will feel the impact of the subsidy removal positively, and everybody will be very happy.
Now, people have spoken so much about the what they consider as over-bloated subsidy bill that our country has had to live with. By your own checks and estimation, what is, give or take, our current consumption level vis-a-vis what the NNPC continues to take as subsidy bill?
Okay, if you look at, let's go back to history, because it will help us, enable us to understand where we are and where we're coming from. As of 2007, May 29 to be precise, when Obasanjo handed over to Yadwa, go and check the records at the NNPC, and also compare the records at the U.S. Energy Administration Agency that has clear records of energy consumption, PMS, gas oil across the world. Accurate records. As of 2007, Nigerian consumption was about 22 million liters a day. As at that time, South Africa had about 30 million liters a day. Go and check those records, they are there. As at that time, U.S. consumption was put at about 1.39 billion liters a day. Fast track to 2011. South African consumption stood at 31 million liters a day, which is within the band, less than 2% change. That of the US, we stayed at 1.42 billion liters a day, within 3% band. But that of Nigeria ballooned to 47 million liters a day. Of course, that was what triggered the National Assembly probe of 2012, when Busola Saraki, then Senator, raised an alarm that 240 million was provided for subsidy payments in the budget. But by that time, they've already drawn about 1.3 trillion extraordinary expenditure. The National Assembly went about probing, and they discovered that most of the acclaimed import into Nigeria were not brought into Nigeria. There were a lot of kiting and mismanagement and the fraud by the marketers. And a lot of people were prosecuted, a lot of people made the reform to the federal government. Of course, that was what led to the first attempt by that time to remove subsidy in 2012 that was resisted by Nigerians. Now, fast forward, 2015, Kachukwu, when he became the petroleum minister, Minister for State for Petroleum Resources, did an audit and came up with a report that our average consumption ranged between 28 million liters to 32 million liters. And that was actually our consumption. Compared to the records at the U.S. Energy Administration Agency, it was the same. Within that band, 27, 28, 32 million liters. Kachukwu was removed and Mike Antibari became minister. GMD of NNPC in 2016. That was when this ghost consumption started. All of a sudden, from 32 million, we are told that we are consuming 66 million liters every day. That was what they were importing. In fact, the madness even culminated in 2021 when they told us around April, May that the consumption moved from 63 million liters a day to 73 million liters. At the time, they even reported 102 million liters. DPR in February 2020 told us that daily consumption based on their own record was 38 million liters. If you go to the US Energy Agency and look at the record as at 2022 December, you will see, compare it with the records consistently over the last 16 years across West Africa, other countries across the whole world, Asia, America, Europe. You will discover that Nigeria is the only country that witnessed a jump of 176% increase in consumption of petroleum products over 15 years. Others are within 5%, 20% band. That shows you the kind of criminality that we have accommodated over the last 13 years and which must go, because if we don't remove subsidy, we will end up subsidizing the rest of West Africa.
All right, I want to ask you this question. Yes, every person of knowledge knows that subsidy has to go. But I'm sure you know that Nigeria has a very huge illiterate population. In fact, there are university-educated persons who are not literate enough to understand the economics of fuel subsidy. And many of them are very loud on social media, misleading people and, screaming blue mud all over the place. What do you think government should do to orientate the people for them to understand what is actually going on and what benefits we will derive from the removal of fuel subsidy?
What the government will do is to engage knowledgeable Nigerians, just like we are doing now in your studio, to speak to Nigerians and educate them with factual information on why we need subsidy to go. We let them know that if we keep subsidy, we end up subsidizing the rich. You know the interesting thing, look at Lagos alone. In Lagos State, we have 5.2, 5.3 million cars registered, vehicles captured. Out of these 5.3 million cars, only about 200,000 are for commercial purposes. The rest are private vehicles. If you listen to the GMD of NNPC, on our rights, we even alluded to this fact, that we are actually subsidizing the rich. The other day I was in Abuja, I saw a convoy of a governor. I counted it. I will share the video with you guys. 67 vehicles, SUV. A particular governor of a state, I was reviewing the budget of that state, budget performance, spent 18 billion naira on state house expenses for a year. And that is madness. Right. And that is again what the federal government of Nigeria should do. Right. We have to engage knowledgeable Nigerians to go across different news media, educating Nigerians. Removing something in the short run will create a bit of hardship and hiccup. But it will help us to save on an annual basis over 10 trillion naira that should be put into the federation account and used for developmental purpose. But to show a sign of good faith, just like what Sisi did in Egypt when he removed subsidy, Mr. President and the rest of his team should go ahead and cut cost of governance by 50%.
And that's a fine place to leave it, Mr. Nemeka Obiareri. We appreciate your insights on Journalist Hangout. Dr. Obiareri, we appreciate your insights on Journalist Hangout. All that you've said so far has been taken in good faith. Thank you so much. And that's about it on the program this evening. Join us again tomorrow for another episode of the show. You can also watch a repeat broadcast of it tonight at 11. And you can also join us again on Sunday from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. We are also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Before I go, I'd like to thank my guests as usual, Babajide Kolade Otitoju, for your insights on the show, and Mr. Paul Dada. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's it, guys. Many thanks for watching. I'm Esther Mokwariola. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.
The following is a paid presentation by ShopX TV.
Do you spend the night trying to get comfortable? Your knees rub bone on bone, your back and hips ache. You wake up in pain? Not anymore. ShopX TV is proud to introduce the Contour Legacy Pillow, the patented, ergonomically designed tapered leg pillow that naturally fits the contours of your legs, knees and thighs to help align your spine and alleviate pain. Watch, when you sleep on your side, your leg falls forward, twisting your pelvis and lower back, putting pressure on your spine, hip and sciatic. But the Contour Legacy Pillow cushions your knees and cradles your legs, relieving stress on joints while restoring your lower back alignment. Sleeping on your side, your leg comes over and puts you out of alignment, causing lower back pain, hip pain, even knee pain. By using the Contour Legacy Pillow, it restores the natural alignment of the spine, helping to alleviate pain and pressure, leading to much more restful sleep. Old-fashioned leg pillows are bulky, but the anatomical design of the Legacy Pillow fits perfectly the shape of your body the way nature intended. You can even use two together for full leg alignment. Legacy Pillow is exclusively ventilated, so it always stays cool and dry. With top crescent design, it cuddles up to you perfectly and easily moves with you. Ordinary pillows go flat, but the Legacy Pillow is made up of soft memory foam, so it never loses its shape and the cover is machine washable. The Contour Legacy Pillow is now available in Nigeria, exclusively from ShopX TV. You could be paying up to 500,000 naira for an orthopedic bed that doesn't properly support your spine. But call the number on your screen now and get 2 Legacy leg pillows for just 69,900 naira and get relief from back and hip issues. But wait! If you call now, we'll upgrade you to the Contour Better Sleep Collection. The collection comes with 2 Contour Legacy leg pillows and 2 Contour Cool Gel head pillows at no extra charge. The Contour Cool Gel head pillows' soothing orthopedic support will cradle your head and neck for full alignment, while keeping you cool all through the night for the best sleep of your life. Incredible! That's 2 Contour Legacy pillows and 2 Cool Gel head pillows for just 69,900 naira. And that's not all. Place your order now and we'll also deliver your Contour Better Sleep collection with no shipping charge. But hurry! This is an exclusive ShopX TV offer and only available for a limited period. So, call now while stock lasts. Your rest is your wealth.
The proceeding was a paid presentation brought to you by ShopX TV.
Genuine business people desirous of success in today's environment ignore the taxman only at their own peril.
Under the oversight of this board, the FIRS will continue its transformation into a premier revenue collecting agency.
For up-to-date and accurate information on your obligations, duties and rights under the various tax laws in Nigeria, watch Tax Matters on TVC News Thursday 6:30 p.m. to 7 p.m.
At TVC News, wherever the big news story is happening, we're geared up to break it. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move weigh in the struggle of one to the other.
It's day 3 of President Bola Tinubu in office, and today he met with service chiefs and Inspector General of Police at the Presidential Villa. You're watching First 100 Days with Nifemi Okutu. Remember that you can join the conversation live on Twitter if you use the hashtag #first100days. Well, it's the first meeting that President Tinubu will be having with service chiefs since he was sworn in as president on the 29th of May. And we're told that he shared his philosophy about dealing with security issues, which according to him is the adoption of contemporary security measures in order to advance the country's fortune. State House correspondent Femi Akonde joins me now for more on what happened today at the villa. Hi Femi, what more have you learnt about the meeting today? State House correspondent Femi Akonde, if you can hear me, what more have you learnt about the meeting between the president and the service chiefs earlier today?
Well, Femi, I can't hear you clearly, but I know you're talking about the meeting between the president and the service chiefs. The commander-in-chief of the armed forces, President Bola Tinubu, met for the first time with heads of security agencies and the police and intelligence agencies in the country. He gave them a marching order to go and ensure that the security of lives and property is protected in the country. You know, during his inaugural speech, he promised to reform the doctrine and architecture of Nigeria's security. He says that will be one of the top priority of his administration. And clearly we see that it appears he's beginning to match those words with action. With the meeting he had today with the security chiefs, you know, he explained to them his own philosophy tackling security, and he said that moving forward he will no longer tolerate excuses. When he spoke as a man who is in charge, as a commander-in-chief, he dished out orders to the security heads, and you know, they came out of that meeting saying that indeed they have been inspired and re-energized to go out there and ensure that lives and property, which is the primary responsibility of the government, is guaranteed. And you know, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu also talked about the issue of oil theft. You know, just within a year, between March 2022 and March this year, Nigeria lost about 2.3 trillion naira to oil theft. And this has also greatly affected Nigeria's revenue at a time when the country is desperately looking for money, even to fund its national budget. 2.3 trillion naira, that is more than 15% of Nigeria's national budget, and this is a big concern for President Bola Tinubu, and he wants the security agencies, especially the Navy and other supporting security agencies, to curb these menace. And he also called for a closer collaboration between security agencies. You know, what we have seen in the past has been inter-agency rivalry. We also saw that manifest recently between the DSS and the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. But President Bola Tinubu is saying that he no longer wants to see any of that happening. What he wants is collaboration for the interest of Nigerians and to ensure that there is security of lives and property, both internally and against external aggression. Nifemi.
It's been a series of high-profile meetings in the past few days for the new president. But Nigerians are also concerned about how soon they can begin to hear about his appointment. On Twitter, for instance, a member of the defunct APC Presidential Campaign Council has just congratulated an individual for his appointment as Chief of Staff. Can you confirm that, Femi?
Sorry, Lifen, please repeat the question.
If you can confirm news making rounds on social media about the appointment of the Chief of Staff to the President.
Well, I believe you asking me to confirm the appointment of Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila as the Chief of Staff to the President. So far, there is no official communication from the presidency to that effect. Femi Gbajabiamila was also in the presidential villa, and one of the State House correspondents congratulated him. Well, he asked us to be patient and allow the whole process to run its course, because, you know, there are ways that this kind of appointment will be officially communicated. Even the president of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, when he was speaking with State House correspondents, also said that he knows that this administration will start on a good footing. He knows that the administration will have experienced people working well with President Bola Tinubu to steady the ship of the nation, because he says that, his colleague Femi Gbajabiamila, who is the Speaker of the House of Representatives, will soon be appointed as the Chief of Staff to the President. Well, we also believe that, Senator Ahmed Lawal has privileged information, but we are yet to get an official statement from President Bola Tinubu or from the presidency as a whole confirming Femi Gbajabiamila's appointment as the Chief of Staff to Mr. President.
It took the outgoing president 6 months to announce his cabinet. Nigerians are now becoming anxious to hear from the new president as regards some critical positions in his own cabinet, and we're watching that very closely. State House correspondent Femi Akonde live for us in Abuja. How much do you buy a litre of petrol where you live, and how are you coping with the long queues? After this break, however, joined by Group Chief Executive Officer of the NNPC, Mele Kyari, as we talk about the removal of fuel subsidies. Stay with us.
Bola Ahmed Tinubu, do solemnly.
Well, despite various queues at fuel stations, the Group CEO of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, Mele Kyari, has allayed the fears of many Nigerians on the rising prices of petrol across Nigeria. The head of the agency predicted that competition between significant participants in the oil industry would indeed drive down petrol prices. In fact, some state governments have also cautioned oil marketers on sudden increase of pump price in the wave of the subsidy removal. But what are the interventions put in place by the federal government to cushion the effect on the people? And how well do you understand the removal of the petrol subsidy? Joining me is the Group Chief Executive Officer of NNPC Limited, Mele Kyari, live from Abuja. Thank you for joining us on the program this evening. So I got my first subsidy-free petrol today at as high as 300% in Lagos, and I had to queue for some 2 hours to make that happen. But the question on the lips of many would be, why the sudden sharp increase when it's not yet the end of June?
Yes, thank you very much. Good evening, and good to hear you, and a privilege to speak to you on this platform. First and foremost, June is the perceived date of the withdrawal of subsidy. Really, what it really June means, end of June means, is that the provision of subsidy in the Appropriation Act terminates at the end of June. It doesn't mean you have cash available for you to offset the cost of subsidy up to the end of June. Yes, it's very true. There's an appropriation of 3.7 trillion naira for subsidy cost up to the middle of the year. That is up to the end of June. And that's different from having the money to pay for it. I can tell you, since 2022, the federal government is not able to defray NNPC's balances of the subsidy cost that we are bearing on behalf of all of us. And that means we are taking NNPC's cash flow to continue to provide fuel at the subsidized rate. And we've just gotten to a point where, unless those payments come, we are unable to continue to supply petroleum product at our cost, because it's eating into our cash flow. It's making us difficult not to focus on other core businesses. As you may be aware, over 30% of our business is only about this business of downstream actually accounts for less than 30% of our business. So it's not our core business. But it is now taking all our energy, all our resources, and we can't continue to do. That's why we welcome the change that Mr. President has put on the table. That look, there is no subsidy. Completely correct. The law said there is no pricing of petroleum motor spirit on the basis of pricing that is not by the market. So the PIA is very clear on that. And of course, government has the responsibility and the right to provide for its citizen at any time, any circle that it can. Yes, we agree completely that is true. But when you make provision in budget, you must be also able to finance it. You must give it cash backing. And those cash backing are lacking for very many reasons, because we know that there are constraints around financing and funding in the overall scheme of government in the last 2 years. And we know that is correct. But if you can't do it, you can't give what you have. That is why we welcome the fact that, we have to start now, so otherwise...
And then, Mr. Kyari, we have also heard you talk about how the federal government is still owing the NNPC limited 2.8 trillion naira on petrol subsidy. But there's a list out there of a new NNPC petrol price per state. Can you confirm its authenticity?
Yeah. First and foremost, the market determines prices going forward. That means that your cost of procurement, other logistic costs, all the way into the fuel station and pump station, every company will make a decision, and the market will regulate this. So what you have seen that is flying around the social media is a typical document that every marketing company does. You have to determine prices by location on the basis of cost, where you are, and so on and so forth. So it's not a cap on pricing. It is not an announcement of pricing. It is actually market pricing by this location as at that date. That means that 3-4 days from now, 1 week from now, when the market condition changes, when you have cheaper product in your hand, you have to go back and review those numbers and come back with lower numbers. This is really what it means. So what you see there is the market reflective cost of petroleum metals at the pumps in our own station. So we're selling to others at bulk. Remember that we're the only importers of petroleum product today. We sell at the depot level or at the marine level to customers. So it will be their efficiency that will determine their prices at those locations. That means that when you see another company, I don't want to call their names, any other company can actually sell lower than this price in the location that you have seen. So this is what the meaning of competition that introduces efficiency to our system.
But precisely, can you help us understand what the difference is currently between the landing price and the prices quoted in this document?
See, market, we don't speculate on this anymore, because in the landing cost, it's a cost that you incur actually at this station now, cargo by cargo. When you import a cargo, you put a pricing on it. So you don't really talk about landing price today now. You can see for one moment, for one day, you will know your landing cost. And of course, your incidental costs, all of them are variable over a period of time. So we don't speculate on this. I'm not going to tell you this is my landing cost, because the market determines this, and they are not secret anyway. Actually, you can take your phone, Google, and see what's the cost of a PMS today in Rotterdam or in the international market. It will tell you. Okay. So it's not secret. I have no determination on it. It changes every day, and then when that happens, it will reflect on our cost.
So now that retail prices of petrol are supposedly determined by what you call the interplay of market forces, the question would be, who ensures that consumers are protected and that some marketers don't overprice the product?
Two things. The market is the best controller of prices, because once you have supply that meets the demand, and of course customers have choice, whether in terms of your quality of your service, your customer management system, and so on, and many things that will cover. The first line of defense for the consumer is the market. And of course, as we are going forward, you see a complete market liberalization. Individuals will have choice between filling stations. You will see difference of prices between two filling stations that are next to each other. And these are the choices of the customer. And because your supplier, your customer, or the owner of the fuel station knows that you have choice, that you can go to the next station and get some lower prices or better service, that competition will drive and control what happens to the consumer. And of course, the key thing is guaranteed supply. And I can confirm that we have absolute guarantee of supply until the private sector comes in. And because you have supply, now the other part of it is by law, because you have the Consumer Council, Consumer Protection Council, and also the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Regulatory Authority. It's their job to ensure that where there are abuses, those abuses are not going to be general. It will be by company basis, maybe even by location, or even by fuel station. Therefore, those abuses, once it is there, the Consumer Protection Council in a larger scale addresses that. And of course, on a narrower level, the authority, which is called the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Regulatory Authority, will put into effect so that sanctions are there. And of course, the biggest sanction that you have is the market. And I know that the market will take control of this situation.
All right, you have said that competition among major players in the oil sector would, eventually force down the price of petrol as against, the upward trends that have caused panic across the country. From where we are right now, the queues and then people buying up to 600 naira, how soon do you foresee this to happen?
First and foremost, you have seen the queue have vanished. I can just see behind me in our office there, the queues have gone away. They will go away, because what really happened was that once you have an indication, not even an announced indication of increase in price, because that's really what it meant. If it were a downward trend, people would have done something different. Because once you have indication that changes to that price could potentially increase prices, two things happens. Customers will rush to fuel stations so that they can take advantage of immediate low prices, because it doesn't come into effect. And naturally, when people come into fuel stations, instead of buying 10,000 naira fuel, they will buy 20 because they are not sure of the price that will be the next day. And then the second thing is the marketers themselves, very understandable. This is inventory management. When you know the prices are going to change, the natural thing you are going to do is watch and see what the price will look like. That's why uncertainty in this business is a real issue. That's why we quickly took out the uncertainty and introduced a new pricing system, because no trader, no marketer will sell because he cannot guarantee going back to the market to replenish his stock. This is very simple market condition. So that is why holding back by traders and also the rush by customers resulted in the queue. Now that there's clarity and sanity around the pricing environment, you will see that these queues will vanish. And I can tell you that in most parts of Abuja, it doesn't exist. In very many parts of the country, we are monitoring this, and there's clearly an indication that this will vanish in the next maximum 2 days. But this is natural. Then when people now come to the real market prices, they will make their choices appropriately. If you want to fill your tank, you will do it. When you want to make half tank, you will do it. I think this is really the market coming into play, and we believe that this will vanish very, very quickly. And of course, talking about when is the price going to come down, let me come down. When you talk about when our price is going to come down, yes, two things will happen. Efficiency will come in. That means that even though the bulk purchase price is high, probably at a level, you will see customers and marketing company will introduce certain efficiencies that will make sure that delivery of product to their location, to their fuel station, comes at a very low price, and that will come down naturally, even if current condition of pricing persists. But the second thing is that the PMS of petrol is governed by pricing in international market. As you have seen, and as everybody watches, every day there are some changes to prices. You see gallops, it goes down, it comes down, and marketers always adjust to meet those prices. And therefore, you will see gradual decline in price because of efficiency that will naturally come. And secondly, potentially, this voodoo, you can't tell what was going to happen, but naturally, when the market prices go down, prices of commodities will go down. And of course, more players will come in, as you may be aware. This will introduce new vintage of supply into the system. Whether it is domestic or international, we know that new players will come in, supply will be robust, and therefore when demand does not reach supply, then of course supply becomes higher, naturally price becomes higher. This will happen very naturally. We have seen this play out severally in very many circumstances. Remember the telecoms world, when we came in, a SIM card was 20,000 naira, 80,000 naira, and so on and so forth. But today you are given SIM cards free. I'm not saying that there's any time they are going to get a fuel free, but that doesn't work out with like telecoms. But we know that these prices, the market will determine it will naturally take its balance, and then of course pricing will come down when the market conditions.
Okay, let's talk about what happens between now and then, because that's perhaps the biggest concern of many people. Many are anticipating ripple effect in the area of inflation, rise in the price of commodities in the market. They say many people are now saying that the common man, might now be the one who will suffer more due to, how high the price of things will become in the market. And some are suggesting, why not go the route of partial removal of subsidy or gradual removal of it? How do you react to that?
I think that what we need to get clear is, what do really subsidies represent? Subsidy means that, the state, recognizing the pains of its citizen and the need to create certain incentives, decide to provide product in product or services in a way that is below the market. This is really the meaning of subsidy. Now, you do this when you have the resources. So every country does this. You'll find subsidy on bread, subsidy on fertilizer, and so on and so forth. Every country does in different manners. But I'm sure even very developed countries have reacted in certain circumstances, even giving companies, money that they don't have to pay back eventually. So countries react differently to different circumstances, but they are all anchored around ability to pay. And ability to pay means that you must have the resources to do it. When you have subsidy budget for a year and a half and you are not able to fund it for 1 day, that means that you are not capable of providing that subsidy. You do not have the resources to do this, and therefore you have other competing needs that probably have a bigger scale of concern to you than it is. So therefore, you don't have the cash. Now, when you don't have the cash, you cannot talk about subsidy. This is where we are. The state is not capable of providing this subsidy because it doesn't have those resources. Okay. And once you don't have those resources, you don't talk about anything else other than, how do I survive? And once you survive, the pains will come, no doubt about it. Once you have changes to price of energy, cost of transportation will be impacted, no doubt about it. there will be knee-jerk reactions immediately. Transporters will raise the prices beyond the incremental cost of the fuel that were. This is very understandable. It always happens, but it always comes down. It will normalize because the customer now has choice. So after all, why do I even have to go out of the house? You know, there are movements that you don't do. That
I like your optimism, Mr. Kayari,
yes.
And I'm told that we also have to let you go so you can attend to other meetings. But I want you to quickly speak to how optimistic you are as to whether or not government will be able to carry labor unions along, because I know that you have joined in one or two of these meetings. You saw in 2012 how Nigerians reacted to this move. How do you think it will, fare moving forward, being in that meeting and you saw the negotiation yourself?
Yes, obviously there are concerns, and as part of those engagement, Labour will have made it very clear to Labour and my colleagues. And I remember that I'm a former comrade, and I have been part of this. And we made it very clear that it's really not about subsidy today, and your ability to provide it. And of course, it comes with impact. And those impacts will come on the basis of having higher prices of commodities, and also ability of workers to actually meet their basic requirements. So for you to meet this, something must change. And that's why Mr. President, in his wisdom, has said that, look, there must be some interventions. Those interventions be discussed so that the suffering of the vulnerable, including workers, be addressed. And I think that's why the conversation with the union will terminate. There is going to be engagement. We're going to meet them very soon so that we can see, look, how can we intervene so that the vulnerable don't suffer, and ultimately these changes translate to value to all of us. And of course, so that we would stop subsidizing those who shouldn't have the subsidy in the first instance.
Already the prices are in the roof, Mr. Kiyari, so the intervention should be coming. I mean, why the delay? It should happen now because Nigerians already are feeling the heat. Do you agree?
There are things you can do very, very immediately. I know this is going on. Those interventions will be on the table immediately. You will see it. There are long-term interventions and short-term interventions that you can do. But more importantly, you are going to have a balanced economic outlook so that the more prosperity will be created in our country, more people will have access to resources. And of course, ultimately, you will see that the immediate effect may be painful, but the long term is really, really belated. It will happen. And I'm very sure that Nigerians will see the wisdom in taking this decision at this point in time so that ultimately value comes back to all of us.
Group CEO, NNPC Limited, Mele Kayari, thank you for talking to us on the program.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right, so we are following closely government decision. The federal government is talking about intervention. Labor union is saying that, you know what, retain the status quo. Let us talk about the implication of this decision on majority of Nigerians, and also how do we come up with all of the other provisions that is needed for this subsidy removal to work, like getting our own refineries running again, creating alternatives for transportation, and also cushioning the impact of this price shock for many Nigerians. Well, we'll bring you up to speed as they happen as we follow the early days of the new president closely from here. That's our show today. Thanks for being a part of it. Remember to watch a repeat broadcast in case you missed it at 6 a.m. tomorrow. I am Nifemi Oguntoye.
Stubborn dark marks? Try new Nivea Lumina 630. Visibly reduces up to 10 years of stubborn dark marks in just 4 weeks. New Nivea Lumina 630. Get even and luminous skin.
The following is a paid presentation by ShopX TV.
Do you spend the night trying to get comfortable? Your knees rub bone on bone. Your back and hips ache. You wake up in pain? Not anymore. ShopX TV is proud to introduce the Contour Legacy Pillow, the patented, economically designed tapered leg pillow that naturally fits the contours of your legs, knees and thighs to help align your spine and alleviate pain. Watch when you sleep on your